Announcements, please.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby of this conference room. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please write your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the lobby. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please sign in on that same sheet. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available in the lobby. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to district court.
I would, at this time, like to thank my fellow commissioners for allowing me to serve for 1 year as your chairman, and also thank the staff for the support they have given me. And at this time, the floor is open for motion for our next chairman.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Miles to move up from vice chair to chair.
Second.
Who was the second? Mr. Klausmeyer on Mr. McKay's nomination. You have a chance to say no.
You also got to ask for
Any other
more-
nominations?
Chance to do a campaign speech.
Any other nominations? Seeing none? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Or do you want to do a secret ballot? Okay. Okay, 14-0. I assume you voted for yourself, I hope. At this time, we'd like to open it up for a vice chairman nomination. Mr. Green.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Chuck Warren for the position of vice chair.
Second.
Second. Ms. Miles? Ms. Miles, second Mr. Green's nomination of Chuck Warren for our vice chair. Does that mean I have to sit next to you, Mike?
I hope not.
Any other nominations? Any discussions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, take over.
I've been taking copious notes of Ms. Miles. In fact, you do sit next to me.
Hey, Cindy, congratulations.
Thank
Oh,
you.
take your name tag,
Oh, yeah.
your placard.
Oh.
Did you bring yours yet?
You gotta help keep me in.
You bet.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 1, approval of MAPC minutes. And so we have August 9th, 2018.
I'll have to abstain from that.
I move for approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It was Hartman and Green.
I made the motion, Green.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And then how many abstentions? One abstention. Mr. Johnson. All right, moving on to the minutes from August 23rd, 2018.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hartman and a second by Mr. Klossmeyer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abdul had to be.
Got an abstention.
One abstention. Mr. Dool? Mr. Dool, you want to turn your,
Listed being in there, I thought.
Yeah, you're absent.
Oh, okay. They got me in being present and absent. I abstain.
He was somewhere.
Well, so which one is it?
He was somewhere.
You must have been beside yourself.
all right, moving forward, I will adjourn the meeting for the MAPC to move into the meeting for the Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals, Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals. Uh-oh.
They want you to run through the zoning first.
All right, run through the zoning first. Thank you. All right. So on 2-1, we have sub 2018 00018 final plats for Cedar Creek Edition. Is there anybody from the commission that would like to hear this case?
I have some questions. Well, either the planner or the applicant. Is there an HOA on this?
I believe there will be one established.
Well, why I'm asking on number N, that it talks about drainage, and if they don't fulfill the maintenance of it, it'll be charged back to the owners. But what happens if the owners go out of business and you don't have anybody to charge it back to? That's all, that's why I was wondering if there was an HOA that will be there.
The applicant informed us there will be an HOA established.
Okay, thank you.
Is there,
No other questions.
okay, is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear this item? If not, we'll take that on consent. Item 2-2, sub 2018 00027, one-step final plat for Superior Excavating Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we'll take that on consent. Item SUB 2018 00028, one-step final plat for the Wisner Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we'll take that on consent. Item sub 2018 00029, one-step final plat, RD Wood Commercial Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case?
Madam Chair, just let the record show I've had ex parte communication on this issue.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we'll take that on consent. 2-5, sub 2018 00030, one-step final plat, K42 and Hoover Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case?
Madam Chair, I would like to move for approval of 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, and 2-5.
I have a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. McKay, and Mr. Foster has a question for discussion.
Should it be noted for the record that item 2-2, we received a revised staff report on that item, and Neil would have to advise us what the revision was, but I think that ought to be noted.
The only revision for that staff report was on the title page where I corrected the lot designation, so it would say 2 residential lots and 1 office lot. That's all that changed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 14-0. All right, moving on to number 3, public hearing vacation items, 3-1. VAC 2018-00020, city vacation of platted utility easement to allow for construction on property zoned LC limited commercial. Is there anybody from the commission? Oh, it was denied. Okay. Yes,
I would like to hear the item.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, we will hear that case. And moving on to public hearings, case number 4, CON 2018-00032. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case? Anybody in the audience that would like to hear that case? If not, we'll take that on consent. Number 5, case number CON 2018-00033. Is there anybody on the commission? Yes.
I had a simple staff question on that one.
Okay. You want him to go ahead
Dave,
and
you
ask
want
that
to
question?
take, it's a real simple question.
Yes, sir.
On the plan that we received, it's titled Site for Accessory Apartment. Should that be corrected to reflect the case?
Drawing shows that?
Yes.
Oh, across the top, yeah, that's, I do not know, that's an error. It should be horse stable.
That was my only question. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Yes. Well, right now, the commission's chosen not to hear this case at this time, and unless you have, I mean, since you're the owner, the owner or applicant, unless there's somebody here that objects, okay, we will take that case on consent. Item number 6, case number ZON 2018-031. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case?
Got a staff clarification on that one.
Okay. Staff, can we get a staff clarification?
Yeah, Mr. Richardson talked to me ahead of time, and there's a reference in the protective overlay where we identify setback issues, and the staff incorrectly noted that it would be setbacks from the south and west line. It should read the south and east line. We'll note that going forward.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay, we will hear that case. Item number 7, case number ZON 2018-00035. Is there anybody in the commission that would like to hear that case?
I just have a comment. I don't have it, I really don't want to hear it. I have a comment, or maybe a question too, that at the very first part of the protective overlay, it has land uses, number 1, and then the A, there's the exceptions. That means that what's listed here cannot be in this development.
Yeah, so the way that it reads is it's everything allowed within LC limited commercial zoning, except what you see listed there. So everything else in LC can happen, but this protective overlay would stipulate that you cannot do those.
And there's a whole bunch of things in there. How does that compare with a list that would be what you can do?
Do you want a list of just everything that's allowed within LC zoning that doesn't fall into?
Give them an example.
In the future,
No, we're not going to list everything. We've gone over this before. If we start listing stuff, it's just going to go on and on. It is much more efficient for us to list all uses allowed in LC except for, and then list the exceptions.
Okay, that's part of what I was
Yeah.
wondering, if there's, what's the size of that? Because if there're just two
But
or
what
three
difference
things
does it
left.
make?
Well, because if there are just two or three things left, it's much simpler to say what you can do.
Well,
with three things.
We would, if that was the case, we'd do that. We do
Okay,
whatever's the
that-
most
that's-
efficient.
And it lets the general public look at it, because they don't have a book to look in to see what it is. They
It's
can-
online, like we discussed
So-
before.
Well, everybody's online, I'm sure, that, it'd just be less confusing when you're reading it, if, what you actually can do, if the list is short.
I mean, if it is more efficient, we do list
Okay.
what's allowed and then say everything else is eliminated. But in this case, it was more efficient to do it this way.
Okay, that's what I was asking, and that's what I need to know. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case?
I don't want to hear it, but I'd just like to make a correction to the staff report.
Okay. How do we go about doing that?
We'll need to hear it then.
Need to hear it? Okay. We will hear that case. Item number 8, case number ZON 2018-00036. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear that case? Okay, we will hear that case.
I move that we take items 4 and 5 on consent.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Green and a second by Mr. Hartman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. And now we will adjourn.
Well, you have to
Oh, we
hear-
can't still adjourn.
Okay.
You've got to hear
I gotta hear these cases, then I can adjourn, go to BZA, come back, right?
the item 6 on the planning commission has to be approved before the variance. Use is
Okay.
not permitted without the zoning.
Okay. So we will start by hearing,
It's number 6.
this first?
3-1.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, agenda item number 331.
You want to do the vacation case first?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you on the subdivision? What did you find wrong?
Hey, Scott, do you have the slide for this? Thanks. Okay, Matt Williams, Associate Planner. This is Vacation 2018, number 20, City Vacation of Platted Utility Easement. The applicant has requested the vacation of a portion of the 20-foot platted utility easement on property addressed 1236 North Greenwich Road. The applicant would like to construct a sign on the property requiring the vacation of a portion of the easement. There are no public utilities located within the vacation area. However, a water line is located within the easement. Public Works is requesting an encroachment agreement as opposed to the vacation so they can maintain access to the water line. Public Works opposes the vacation. Franchised utilities had no objections to the vacation. The subdivision committee recommended denial per staff recommendations. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Foster.
Matt, can you explain the revised application that we're looking at that's been handed to us here today?
I cannot. That is something that I didn't have a chance to look at before I came to the meeting.
Okay, we'll rely on the applicant then to explain it.
Can't do that.
Okay.
I'm not hearing staff. I can't hear, you guys aren't talking in the microphone. I gotta hear.
Apparently, staff never had a chance to review whatever the revised application is, so it'll need to be deferred.
I'm unaware of it being a new application. I thought it was just information for a presentation, but I didn't get a chance to look at it.
I have a question. Does our rules require I mean, is it, you want it to look at it, or is that a requirement within our rules and regulations and policies that says that you have to look at it in advance?
Well, it'd be up to the commission to decide. If you want to look at it here and then try and do it on the fly, well, that would be the commission's decision.
You can't hear it.
It's just,
Just supplemental materials.
the staff recommendation is going to remain denial because we haven't had a chance to look at it.
These are just supplemental materials, not a new application, I don't believe.
Mr. Green?
One of the concerns that I would have, hearing this on the fly, would be that we would not have staff input with regards to what we have before us, not what we've already seen. And so it would be my wish to go ahead and defer until such time that staff has an opportunity to weigh in on this and we are able to then make a decision.
Would you like to make that a motion?
Absolutely. I move that we defer this item until staff has an opportunity to look at it.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Green and a second by Mr. Dool to defer this case. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Foster?
This is pretty straightforward. And from what we reviewed at the subdivision committee, this 2 feet reduction is acceptable, and it seems consistent with the information that we discussed with staff during the course of the presentation. So I would move that we should proceed and hear the applicant and get an explanation of this, and then if we need to defer to allow for proper staff review, then so be it. But I'd like to hear the applicants.
I'll second the substitute motion.
Okay, we have a substitute motion by Mr. Foster and a second by Mr. Johnson to go ahead and hear this case as opposed to a deferral. Any discussion on that motion?
Scott, I'm in agreement with the substitute motion. I think this should be a fairly simple, straightforward thing to take a look at. No need to delay it unnecessarily.
Is this a modified application from what the subdivision committee heard? And Scott's shaking his head yes, so.
I haven't even taken a look at the paperwork yet.
I don't think we can hear it if it's a modified. It needs to go back to subdivision committee then, does it not? And they're asking for something different because it was denied.
I think it depends on how much different it is and whether the commission feels you can get the information you need today to handle it.
It's a considerable reduction. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, any other discussion on that second motion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Can I see a show of hands who's in favor?
In favor?
Yes. And opposed? Okay, so that motion passes.
The motion was to defer it?
No,
Okay.
the motion is to carry on.
Other questions for staff? We have the applicant.
Any other questions from staff? So you can't really present, so we need the agent or applicant up and minutes for does he have? And if you'll start with your name and address, and then you have 10
Absolutely.
minutes.
I'm Brian Lindeback, 411 North Webb Road, MKEC Engineering on behalf of the owner. As you know, this went to subdivision and it got denied 6-0. Prior to subdivision and prior to even filing the case, I met with Julianne and met with staff, and she said as long as the water line is clear of the pipe itself by 5 feet, she would allow to move forward with the vacation case. So I moved forward with the vacation case. I came to a subdivision hearing, and it was expressed to me at the moment of our hearing that Julianne was not okay with that, and it was being going to recommend denial. So that's where we got denied. So I've tried to get a hold of Julianne. She has not returned my phone call on this. I did get a hold of her this morning and talk to her about these changes. She said that she would work to get me some answers, whether she was okay with that. It is a significant reduction from what was requested. It leaves an 18-foot easement in that section of the 20-foot easement, as opposed to what was going to be a 13.5-foot reduction in the easement. So it's a significant change. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think that's the whole guiding light here, is that this is a reasonable request to allow us to move forward with putting the sign where it needs to go. So with that, I'll stand for questions. I did provide you the same materials I provided to staff, as well as Julianne. So
Questions from the commission?
Yes. Well, just to be clear, why don't you tell us what was denied and what your proposed change is, Brian? Let's start at the beginning, because most of these people were not at the subdivision committee, including myself.
sure. So what was proposed was, if you look on your second exhibit attached there, was the overall hatched outline there, there's a dash line that covers that. The yellow is what we're requesting it be approved as. So it's just a change in the legal description of what we submitted for the application. So all the way down there is a 5-foot clearance, which was what our agreement with staff was at the time of application. And then, so we're giving instead of 5-foot clearance from the water line, we're giving it 13 foot of clearance at the water line. So that's the big difference.
And do we have any other staff input on this from Public Works?
Matt, have you heard anything from Julianne or anybody else?
That would be my only comment, is that we recommended denial based on Public Works, and we haven't heard Public Works make any comments on this.
In my conversation with Julianne, I did ask that she be here for this today. So
Any other questions of the applicant? Do we have anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Okay,
I've got a question for
Mr.
the
Foster?
applicant, please.
yes.
Brian, just to confirm, we've gone from 9.5-foot dimension on the request down to simply 2 feet. Is that correct?
that's exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions? Yes, Mr.
I don't have
Kay?
a question. I
Mr.
have
McKay?
a question of subdivision committee members.
Okay.
I'd just like to have some input because they studied it a lot more than we did.
I was getting ready to, so if you.
So, I'd just like
Okay.
to have input from members of the subdivision committee.
I was one of the ones that, the general feeling was that this was the idea of having the sign there was a reasonable idea. The aspect of the distance between the existing water line and this potentially down the line, if the city had to go in and do a repair, which is highly unlikely, but if it did, then it could cause a problem. And so the fact that we were looking at about 5 foot from that water line to the amount that they were asking for was just a little too close. This obviously moves it way back out of the way, that from a safety standpoint, from a aspect of the city being able to take care of that water line, it's not a problem. It's reasonable, and I was one that voted against it before, and I'm heartily in favor of it now. I think it's a good plan.
Mr. Green?
What kind of liability is the city looking at if we were to have a failure of the water line? We go in and have to repair the water line and we damage the sign in some way.
I mean, I'll let Jeff speak to that, but what I want people to be clear on is what the Public Works people said is they wanted to deny this request, but they were okay if they turned in a hold harmless agreement. So it's not just a matter of, are we reducing the distance? What the Public Works people are saying is, we don't care what the distance is, we want it done through a hold harmless rather than this process, for whatever clarification that's worth.
By way of a variance, the city would be fully responsible for anything that was perceived or actually done to the sign if it had to be repaired. The hold harmless would say if in the event we have to come in there, then, we'll use reasonable care to take care of things. But, I mean, the idea behind it when the subdivision is, of course, it's been platted, it's been set up in this fashion, and if we just get chipping away at our right-of-ways and inheriting the liability associated with that, that was one of the considerations that Public Works was expressing.
Mr. Klossmeyer?
A 20-foot easement in most areas will take care of sewer, water line, electric, and so on. If the distance they're requiring here or asking for, if they can't get in and repair that line, there's carelessness. They're being sloppy. So I'm fully in favor of the revised addition here.
Foster?
An observation, if you look at the information carefully and the dimensioned plan here, the back of curb of the parking actually extends into the easement, and they'd end up damaging the curbing before they even could get to damaging the sign. So I think it's like Mr. Klossmeyer said, that they'd really have to go out of their way to get into that sign, so.
Mr. Green?
Yeah, I understand all that and am in a complete agreement with you. However, there is the whole harmless aspect that we need to factor into this equation, and is the property owner willing to sign that whole harmless agreement along with if we were to go ahead and grant this request.
Richardson?
So Dale, just to clarify what you were saying, are these mutually exclusive? Do we do one or the other? Can we not do them together?
No, I think if that, as a condition of the approval, if that's what you did, that you can make that a requirement.
Okay, all right.
Although I might chime in, the vacation's not required to have an encroachment agreement with a hold harmless clause. I mean, the city can allow a sign to occur in a easement without vacating it.
Okay, but we could have these together. They're not mutually exclusive.
Mr. Warren?
Generally speaking, on water lines, if we knew that water line was going to be the only thing that was in there, how big of an easement would we normally be asking for? 10 foot? And we're going to be 13 foot on one side, and we're going to be 19 and a half foot total.
20 usually.
20 is what you see.
20 for a water?
20 for any easement is what they've been asking.
Any utilities.
Mr. Johnson?
Is there any chance that any other utilities could be located in this in the future?
Yes. That the easements permit both city-owned and franchise utilities to locate in them.
Thank you.
I'd like to have the applicant come back up and see if they're willing to give a whole harmless agreement.
Just so we're clear, the whole point of me meeting with Julianne before we even filed the case was to determine if we would need to do a hold harmless agreement or if she would allow a vacation case. It's either one or the other. A hold harmless implicates that we have an easement. We're actually clearing an encumbrance in this situation by vacating the 2 foot. So there would be no encumbrance, therefore there'd be no reason to have a hold harmless agreement. I mean, we can provide a hold harmless, but the reality is there's no infrastructure that we're proposing in that easement, because it would be vacated by this order if indeed that's the will of the commission. So that's the direction we took this case from the get-go, and that's why we're here right now. It's because we kind of got turned around.
Other questions from the commission? Mr. Green?
I know the whole harmless was a part of that, but I thought it was an encumbrance. Is that what? Encroachment, excuse me, encroachment. Have an encroachment easement instead of a vacation.
As to the other utilities being placed here, I've been working with all the surrounding property owners. We're working on the Chicken and Pickle project that's just going north of here. All the infrastructure is in place for this development. The water lines, storm sewer, sanitary, gas lines are even in place. So unless there's a major redevelopment, I don't anticipate there being other utilities located in here. This is the only utility in this easement as shown. So just add that.
Other questions?
I got a question. So Brian, did you survey the location of this water line? I mean, we confident?
Yes, we were on we were the site civil team. The only way to actually find the water line would be to probe it and get down to the bottom of it. But we were on the design team for the True Hotel. Is a beautiful hotel that they spent some $9+ million on, and then on top of that, with the they actually extended utilities for this site, public utilities. So. But yeah, this is the only thing that's in there, and I have not physically dug down to measure it, but when the contractor was out there installing valves and things that we extended the water line on the other side of the property, they certainly did dig down and find the water line. So
what you're saying is if they installed it as per your drawings, this is where it is.
That's right. This is where it is, yeah.
But it's not confirmed to be in this location.
Yeah. And
I move for approval of a straight vacation as requested by the revised submission.
We got 2 motions. We've got a
We have a motion already on,
Oh, that's right, we got it.
we got 2 motions. yeah.
Second substitute.
Oh, we voted on one of the motions.
They voted on the substitute and it passed.
We haven't.
Oh, we haven't voted on it.
The motion for having discussion. We're in discussion on the substitute motion right now.
We have a
We have a
motion.
substitute motion to approve, and that's the discussion we're having right now.
Actually, the substitute motion was to do this, right?
Yeah.
We're ready to
To
vote.
hear it, not
To have public,
whether it's approved or not.
you have to have public input or not?
I had already asked for public input.
Oh.
All right, so all in favor, say,
Who was the second?
Substitute.
It's the motion? Somebody repeat the motion.
yeah, somebody repeat the motion. Did we have a substitute motion?
Yes.
All we
Mr.
had
Foster.
was-
I second the motion to approve what
Okay.
was submitted here.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Have Mr. Florence and Mr. Green opposed.
Okay.
Motion carries. Moving on to case number ZON 2018-00031, and Dave, you're ready to present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, Dave Yearout with staff. This is a request to rezone this property at the corner of, it's on the northwest corner of 53rd Street North and North Armstrong. You can see the property outlined in blue on this map. It is currently zoned SF5. If you've been out by there, there used to be improvements on the property, but it's been cleared. You can see from the aerial that there was an older structure on the property. You'll see from the pictures in a second that it's all gone. Immediately to the west is the existing business owned by the applicant. the applicant bought this property and cleared it, and the property to the west is already zone GC, which is what the request for this case. This is the land use map showing the general location, recognizing the commercial property immediately to the west in the land use map. This is a little sketch of what they're proposing to do. There are setbacks along Armstrong and 53rd Street North. This is the side where we have the error in the staff report. We referenced the west side. It should be the east side as a setback. This kind of shows the implication of what the buildings look like, and when they're just replicating the style of the building in the new addition to what's already there. This is a photograph of the site looking west, and this is the actual location where, as you can tell, it's all been cleared. I'm on Armstrong Street looking west, and the existing building is in the background. This is looking northwest, and this is the home that's immediately to the north along Armstrong Street, which is in the foreground of the picture. This is looking north along Armstrong. You can see we have no curbs or gutters on this street. It's open ditches, but this is not the primary street that will be used with this business. This is the intersection looking south. 53rd Street is running across the photo. We're looking at south along Armstrong. This is looking east from the site. This is the ditch along the road of Armstrong right here. And then the open field and the church is in the background. And this is looking west along 53rd Street North. You can see that 53rd is improved with gutters, and there's a sidewalk along Armstrong, or all along 53rd Street. This is just looking the other direction, looking east along 53rd Street. So we're recommending approval. You'll have a case as a Board of Zoning Appeals regarding the variance for the use regulations for this manufacturing facility, which would be to waive the standard of having the front portion that fronts along Armstrong be essentially office. We'll cover that when we get to the BZA. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dave? If not, I'd ask the agent or applicant to come forward, state your name and address. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you for giving us some time. This house directly to the north, I'm Steve Manning. I live in Rose Hill. This is my mother's house, actually to the north, directly north of this proposed. No.
Oh, you're not the applicant. We need,
Oh, sorry. I thought you were looking for.
no, the agent or applicant.
Didn't say he was the one that wanted to hear it. If he was
My name is Stan Blankenship, and my address is 7600 North Walters Circle. I live in Keachai/Valley Center, depending on who you ask. And I'm the applicant, if there are any questions.
Okay.
Do you agree to the conditions that the staff has put on?
I'm not aware of any.
They're in that,
Have you
they're
seen
in the writers you
have you
should
seen
have
this
got, the
report?
conditions of approval.
No, I did not see that. I'm not saying you didn't send it. I've been out of the country. I just got back in town, and I haven't looked at any of this stuff.
I think we need to understand whether or not you're in agreement with the conditions.
Okay, well,
Dave will hand that to you right there.
Ms. Chair, if if he'd like to have some time, I would be willing to go on to another one.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Joe.
So I'd be willing to go to another case if he needs time to review it.
Yeah, let me take a minute to look it over. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I move we defer till after the next case.
Okay, we have a motion to defer till after the next case, and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we'll come back to that case. We'll move on to case number 5, CON 2018 00033.
Number 7. Right there, we're on number.
Oh, that's, I'm
7.
sorry. I knew that.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
Hang in.
How about ZON 2018 00035? Item number 7. Kyle, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so if I may, this was pulled off of consent by the applicant, if I remember correctly. I happen to know what point of clarification the applicant would like to make. I can make that, or I can do the whole presentation if you'd
Sure,
like.
that'd
Okay,
that'd
so the
be
point
fine.
of clarification on page 2 that you see, your staff report under the public services portion or paragraph, it says current access restrictions on the plat show only one permitted access opening. That should say 2 permitted access openings.
Okay,
That was the point of clarification.
okay.
The plat is already in existence. That paragraph doesn't, if I would have accidentally put 15, it wouldn't have. It's already platted.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Do we need to hear from the agent or applicant then?
They don't want to.
They don't want to?
They have to ask if they want to.
Does agent or applicant want to present on this?
More so to let the other applicant have a few more minutes to review. I am in agreement with staff comments as amended with their staff report. Of course, Brian Lindeback, 411 North Webb Road, MKEC Engineering.
Any other questions? Is there anybody from the audience that would like to present on this case, speak on this case? All right, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Move we approve with the noted change of 2 permitted access openings on 21st.
Okay, Mr. Green made a motion, Mr. McKay seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 14-0. Okay, are we ready to go back to case number 6? Have you had time to review that? You need some more time?
Go to item 8.
I move we go to item 8 and come back to item 6 afterwards.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Johnson, Mr. Joe Johnson, and a second by Mr. Warren. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 14-0. And we will move on to item number 8, case number ZON 2018 00036. And Kyle, I see you're ready to present.
I am ready to present. Kyle Kobe, Associate Planner. This is a request for a zone change from TF3 two-family residential to GO General Office on the east side of South Oliver Avenue, just north of Kellogg. So here's the zoning map that you can see right here. We'll have a zoomed-in version of it. What the applicant is requesting to do is to rezone this portion that you see here, that's currently zoned TF3, to general office, which is also the zoning that you see here in green nearby. Here's that zoomed in version. So it would just be this portion here, as this portion are already zoned general office. Here's a picture of the site, kind of from the southwest corner, looking into the northeast corner, as you can see here. Right now the site's undeveloped. This is what it looks like across the street from the site. This is looking north, just from that same point. And this is looking south. This wall is already in existence here, which is kind of acting as some screening for this pump station. Staff has indicated that we are in agreement, or we are recommending approval of this, subject to the recommendation that access controls be limited to one opening along South Oliver Avenue. Staff has heard from the applicant during the process of this case that there's some discussion of finding an access agreement, kind of a situation with the already, I don't have a great picture of it, right here, this access point here for this station and coming through this wall. I just offer that as some background information. That's not set in stone. That's not something that will certainly happen. But staff is recommending just a one access point, and that is because as of right now, there's already an access point right up here and the one that's right down here already. Any questions?
Questions from the commission? If not, agent or applicant, if you could come forward, state your name and address. You have 10 minutes.
Brian Lindeback, 411 North Webb Road, MKC Engineering on behalf of the owner and applicant. Just to make sure everybody's clear, this yellow area is what we're rezoning. The ownership actually goes down into this area down here, which is inclusive of the green and the red, which the red is LC. I just want to make sure everybody's tracking that. This property was formerly owned by the city of Wichita, and part of our due diligence before this case is we met with Julianne and Brian Kuhn, and as well as Jerry Ford with property management. And the owner did go before the pre-development review committee, and it talked about having one access point here to the overall site. Overall site being the overall thing, but I know our case is just referring to this area. One thing I'd like to just point out is that in talking with Brian Kuhn, the traffic engineer, he was actually in favor of having multiple ingress-egress points to this property. And one way we proposed that we do that was, and this is not necessarily germane to the project, but this is something that will happen later. But I think for your decision making, it's good to know this. But we were proposing to join access utilizing this existing access point. And I just wanted to point out that Mr. Kuhn and Julianne and Jerry Ford with property management didn't see any problems with doing that. That's just a matter of protocol that we go through to get the proper agreements in place. So I mainly wanted to make sure you guys are on the record knowing that these access points are, that we're trying to get additional access points to this. I don't, for just the TF3 part, obviously, right now they could have multiple access points without going through this hearing with duplexes, and so each one of these units could have their own access. So I think it's an improvement to the situation that's going to be out there if we had two access points. And so I think from an overall standpoint of the overall property, I just would recommend that we have two access points to the property. I think it's a safer way for people to get in and out of this property, being able to loop through there. And so I just wanted to make that point of clarification, and we are in agreement with staff comments other than that.
Any questions of the applicant? Mr. Richardson?
So Brian, when you say two access points, do you mean two access points for the total property or just from what we're being asked to rezone today?
I'm talking, and that's why I made that distinction at the very preface, is that I'm looking for two access points for the overall property. I'm okay with just one access point for this zone change, but I just want to make sure everybody's tracking with what our goals are.
But we're not going to be able to take any action on that second access point because you're actually talking about going through city property to get that done, right?
Or possibly on the southern edge of this property. But those are things that can be handled separately. But I just wanted to let you know that we are.
But again, just to be clear, on this case, one access point.
Correct.
Thank you.
I might just clarify that the property that's already zoned GO and LC is permitted an access point already.
Any other questions from the commission? Thank you. We have somebody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case. If you'll step forward and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you to the commission for the time and opportunity to speak today. My name is Nathan Bainbridge, and I live at 427 South Glendale. If you look at this map here, Glendale is just to the east of Oliver, and so my property backs up to the property in question today. I'm here to oppose the change. I bought that house a year ago with the understanding that the property behind me was zoned as residential. And I have 3 concerns about the change in zoning. First of all, property value. You know, when I looked at buying this house, I bought it with the understanding that the property behind me was zoned residential. And so I'm concerned that that will affect my future property value. Second, my second concern is if I think it's going to like commercial or something, office buildings. I don't know what the plan is for the property, and so it's hard for me to adequately assess, you know, what's going to happen. But, you know, my kids play in the backyard, and I don't know what's going in behind there. And so adequate fencing would be a big concern for me to make sure there's enough separation between a commercial property and the residential zoned areas. Third concern would be drainage, to make sure that the drainage flows towards Oliver and not to the east towards Glendale. My property sits about a foot lower, and there's a retaining wall between my property and the property here in question. And additional flows off of the property in question would cause difficulty for me and my neighbors. Thank you for your time today.
Questions? Mr. McKay?
Sir,
Sir, could you come back to the podium for questions, please?
you kept referring to the change to commercial, and it's not going to be commercial, it's office.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not an expert here. I just,
That makes a big difference as far as we're concerned, is whether it's
Sure.
commercial or office.
well, but my comments still apply because essentially it's moving from a residential property to some sort of commercial enterprise. And that's what my comments were reflecting. I mean, an office building is a lot different than a residential or a residence.
Mr. Klossmeyer?
Are you getting runoff now from the lot?
No, not currently.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
I have a
questions?
question. Is there screening involved with office?
Yes, anytime you have a office zoning next to residential zoning, it would require screening and landscape buffer.
There'll be a landscape buffer and a screening wall,
How high is the screening?
6 to 8 foot.
Any other questions? Mr. Richardson?
Can the staff speak to, this would be for the staff, sir, I'm sorry. To the issue of drainage, what happens?
Drainage typically isn't taken care of during a zone change case. That would be something that would be evaluated during the building permitting phase. I don't know to what extent we can address that here. Perhaps Dale or Scott knows some mechanism during a zone change case that we can do, but that is something that's examined per all relevant regulations at the building permit stage.
I'm guessing this property has been platted for a very long time, that this is an old plat. I would be surprised if there is a drainage plan with it like we get now. But at the time that they pull a building permit, they would have to submit a drainage plan for the site in order to get the building permit to show that it drains the proper way.
Okay. Did you hear that, sir? Okay.
Any other questions? Is there anybody else? Thank you, Kyle. Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case? If not, we will give the agent or applicant 3 minutes for rebuttal. 2. Sorry, it's only 2.
Make it short.
I'm Brian Lindback, and this is the owner of the property as well. I think I heard the concerns for drainage are there. The land uses are, obviously, I heard those concerns. But presently it's allowed for residential, and it very well could be that this would be a residential redevelopment. As far as land uses, we don't know what those changes might be at this point in time. And as far as drainage goes, the property does drain somewhat generally at the midsection to the east, and then the rest drains to the west. So we'll certainly look at that when it comes time to build whatever is going to be built there, and go through the proper channels to get things approved with regard to drainage. I think this would be, as the staff report suggested, is an excellent location for infill development, and that's what we're looking to do.
Any other questions from the commission? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Move for approval, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Hartman and a second by Mr. Florence. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 14-0. Okay, let's go back to agenda item number 6.
Does he agree with the comments?
Okay. Stan Blankenship, 7600 North Walter Circle, Valley Center, Keachai. And I find nothing objectionable about the restrictions that are included in this document. So there's no problem there. The only other comment I'd like to make on 53rd Street, and I've had the property up there since 1983. 53rd Street is going commercial. I bought the adjacent land. It was basically overgrown property with a house that had holes in the roof, and you wouldn't believe the interior of that house. It was slated for destruction, and we've cleared it. Nobody ever is going to put a house there or any kind of residential. 53rd Street is going commercial, and I think that was my belief when I bought the property, and I think that's where we're going with it. So I find no objections.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
And I would request, Steve is coming up to talk about it, and I'd request that you could put that one picture of Armstrong looking north to the property he's going to be talking.
Dave can do that.
Do that.
Okay, do we have anybody,
Yeah, right there.
have anybody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case? If you'll step forward and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
That's previous. My name's Steve Manning, and this is my mother's house. I live in Rose Hill, Kansas. My address doesn't matter, but it's 16327 Southwest 149th Street in Pauls Valley. My name is listed on the house too, and thank God Mr. Blankenship did get rid of the eyesore we had there. That was really bad. The only concern isn't so much about the zoning. I just want to make sure we get proper set aside. It looks like it's 30 feet from the property line from the north here, which is my mother's house, to the building if he proposes the building. And I think that's probably acceptable. But I like some kind of privacy built between it, whether it's a fence, I don't care. And I've talked to Stan about it, and Stan's been real good to work with. My mother right now is currently in a old folks home and depleted her money pretty much. Stan proposed maybe we get together with a fence. I don't think she can afford it, honestly. I don't know where we're headed with this. The commercialing, I don't really think is an issue. We thought it was going to be a parking lot. Whatever he does is going to be a major improvement to what was there. So as far as property values, I think he's probably helped us more than he's begun to hurt anybody up there. So that was my only concern, was to get some kind of privacy built between the properties to ensure the residence is still a residence and we're not got wide open, accesses, et cetera, for security reasons and other reasons also. So noise, you name it. That's all I request, is maybe get a privacy put in. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission? Mr. Foster, can you hang out there just a second, please?
I would ask Scott, condition number 5 of the protective overlay, if you would just explain that to the speaker.
Oh. But isn't this neat here? No 5.
The condition number 5 would require,
It's down here.
requires a standard landscape buffer and screening. It says per the Unified Zoning Code and Landscape Ordinance. The screening would be a fence of 6 to 8 feet in height, which would be required along that north property line of the, and the south property line of this house. That would actually have to be paid for by the commercial applicant. Would not be a requirement that there be a cost share with the residential property. The entire cost will need to be paid for by the commercial applicant.
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Richards?
A question for Dave. Can we clarify the setbacks? He's wondering about a setback from the north. We changed that, but now I'm a little confused as we changed it to what?
The only setbacks we're talking about are along the east and south side at 30 feet. He'll have to comply with the standard setback, which I believe is 20 by the code.
This, because it's GC next to SF5, there's a compatibility setback of 25 feet.
25 feet. Okay.
So do you understand that, sir, to be a 25-foot setback plus a,
I think that's plenty acceptable.
plus,
Yeah.
yeah, plus a fence?
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Fence would obviously be put somewhere in proximity to the property line. So, that would be very agreeable.
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Joe Johnson?
Right, I had a quick question. I assume under the recommendations for the findings, number 5 was left off intentionally.
I did not hear the question, I'm sorry.
Number 5 was left blank intentionally under the findings.
Well, we did not identify, go into detail on that. We simply made reference to the code requirements.
I think that's just typographical error,
it's a
that it goes from
typo.
4 to 6.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the commission?
One other thing for me to point out too, of course, the drainage, I'm presuming Stan's gonna take care of that to make sure naturally it drains out to Armstrong and or 53rd.
They'll have to
To the
do that.
north.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
They'll have to do that.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Okay, if not, I'll bring it, you can sit down, sir. If not, I'll bring it back to the commission
I'd
for
like to
action.
move for approval
Okay.
based on the recommendations.
Have a motion by Joe Johnson and a second by Mr. Blick. For,
We have rebuttal?
by Miss Rebuttal.
Well, sat down and then studied it and came back up, so that's the equivalent of rebuttal.
That was before the speaker.
Sir, would you like to come up? You have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Document you gave me earlier lists the minimum setback of any building from the north and west property line shall be 30 foot.
It should be east.
East, okay.
Yeah.
And you're talking 25 foot
The
to
north.
the north property line.
Yeah. It'll be 30 feet if, based on, that's what this says, if that's what they approve.
Well, we changed that earlier to
They
to mean
changed that
from the
earlier.
east property line,
We
not
didn't
the
talk
west
about the
property
north,
line.
that's just by the code.
All right. Well,
It means east and south. I believe it was changed to the east and the south property lines for 30 feet.
You can just-
Okay.
Is that right? Dale?
So what I'm accepting is 25 foot between the building and the property line to the north, and Steve is in agreement with that. I guess everybody's happy. Okay.
In addition to that, there's 30 feet from Armstrong and 30 feet from 53rd Street.
It'll take more than that to comply with the Greenway
Okay,
requirements.
all right. Just so we're clear.
Any
All
other-
right, Dave, we got that?
That's our understanding, yes.
All right.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Oh,
Aye.
what did I do?
Yes, we
Yes, we had a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Blick.
Takes a village.
We're all out of order. Get back in order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 14-0. I'm gonna address all challenges during my first meeting. All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting of the MAPC and call to order the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals. All right. BZA 2018-0050. Do I need to ask if we need to hear this case? Okay. Is there anybody on the commission that wants to hear this case? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we can take this case by consent.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Klossmeyer, a second by Mr. Richardson. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 14-0. And with that, I adjourn the BZA.
Just like to make a comment that you moved the meeting along very well.
I have great support over here.
Let's have some comments under other matters if they
Can
can
we,
wait.
Dale has some comments under other matters, so if we can.
I just wanted to make sure, in case you had more important things to do than watching the city council on Tuesday, at the very end of the city council meeting on Tuesday, they directed staff to do some research regarding minimum square footage to put into the zoning code for homes in response to the tiny home discussion. And then the other thing we're supposed to do is research whether other communities are requiring notification to individual property owners when requested annexations occur and/or on plats. And so Dave has prepared a survey that we're going to send out to peer cities, ask them what they're doing, kind of see what they're doing. We have some idea about the minimum square footage issue because we've already done that. But anyway, we have a couple of 3 weeks that we're supposed to work on this. And so I just wanted you to be aware that we were going to do that. We are supposed to bring our findings back to the city council and get some more direction from them when we're done. So I just wanted to.
Gail, do you need any volunteers from the commission to help on that as a committee or?
Not at this point. It's just a staff exercise at this point.
They're not asking for input from the planning commission. They're going to do it themselves.
Well, I think what they wanted to do is see what we found, and then if they felt like there was a need for an amendment, they would then direct us to go through the normal procedure.
Anything else? With that, we are adjourned. I was just dying.